The next thing I'm doing is the binding, direct selection on the center front anchor point, Control C to copy, Control F to the front, remove the fill, which I know is in front over here, and what I'm going to do is toggle and bring the stroke to the front and just change that line to show you I've only copied that line. Once we've copied this line, we need to select it with our black arrow, the selection tool, and go into Object, Path, Offset Path. I've already got it set at 0.5 millimeters. We'll just preview that and go OK. What I need to do over here before I do anything else is I need to just use my direct selection tool to line that up with the path. So we could just bring that down a little bit more, and that's lining it up. We'll do that on the other side. So Control minus to zoom out, space bar to push across, zoom tool Z to zoom in, direct selection A, and there it is lining up with the path. And we'll take that up a little. Minus, 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 so Control minus. Selection tool, black arrow, and I'm going to select the binding and make that default black and white. Select the stitching, or the red line, the original line, and turn that into stitching. If you can't see your options, you'll note that your options may be hidden. If we just come to this point over here, show options, select dashed line. I'm making it 2 points and 2 points, so 2 point dash, 2 point gap, 0.75 and a round cap. And I'm going to leave it at that. The next thing is I'll do the same with the back neck. Control C, Control F, remove the fill, Object, Path, Offset Path, Preview, OK. I'll go to Default Fill and Stroke. Select my stitch line with my black arrow, and I can come to the eyedropper and copy the stitch line over there. Following on from doing the neckline, I'll now do the armholes. The same process applies here. I go to my direct selection tool, select that line only, At this point, it's probably worth your while to select both the binding and the stitch line. So what I've done with my selection tool is I've marqueed over the actual body and the binding, and now if I hold Shift, I deselect the body. I only have the stitching and the binding. I can right click and group that. I'll zoom in just so that we can line up the binding nicely with the actual body. So click onto the direct selection and move that across to line it up with the side seam. Using my spacebar, I go up to the shoulder point again and I select with my direct selection and just move that down a little bit. I can also move the stitch line down a little as well. Control minus to zoom out again. Having grouped that, I can now copy that to the other side. Transform, reflect, and copy. I can line the stitch line over here up with the underarm anchor point over there. It'll snap to point. The only thing left for me to do now is to do the back armholes as well. So I select the back shape, go into my keyboard increments, so edit preferences or Control K. It is 10 millimeters, that's what I need, and I go OK. I'm using my spacebar and I've used my arrows to move that shape up. Direct selection, the white arrow, deselect and then again select the armhole, Control C, Control F, toggle and forward slash, or going down here will remove the fill. Once you start to do things again and again, it's probably best to learn the keyboard shortcuts. So I just toggled between the fill and the stroke by pressing the X key. Object, path, offset path, 0.5 is what we want. Selection tool, black arrow, eyedropper, and once again selection tool, and now I'll just move all the way back down here, eyedropper, and copy that stroke up here. All that's left for me to do on this is to line my binding up with my shoulder, selection tool, black arrow, select that binding. So I've marqueed over everything, and now when I hold shift and click onto the back of the garment, I deselect it, group, so I've right clicked and grouped, transform, reflect, copy, and again I can use that anchor point over there to line up over there. Group everything and move it back down behind the other shape. Select the back neck binding and group. Marquee over the whole front, hold shift to deselect the back, and now we can group the front. The only thing left to do is to do some hem stitching over here. So we go in with our direct selection, looking for that center anchor point, select it, Control C, Control F to bring that to the front, back to our selection tool, and now I need to make my keyboard increment a lot smaller. I'm going to make it 1 millimeter and just move that up 1 millimeter. I drop the stroke that we're using, so it'll become 2 points, 2 points, round cap and 0.75. selection tool and copy that 1 millimeter up again. And this time I can just drag that in so it's not hanging over the edge. So now what I have is a singlet front and back, and I'm just going to copy it. Select the whole front, arrange and send to back. I will just swap these colors around. So I need to select with my group selection tool this time. Come to my swatches. I know that it is I need to bring my fill to the front. Select the front, second last grey, no, it's that grey. Select the back with my group selection tool, so I'm selecting all the binding. We make that white, and then again we'll just copy that, Ctrl C, Ctrl F, move that up, eyedropper, and copy that up again, and there the finished product is.